Welcome to the CEO Bros Podcast, After Hours, with Brian Baldoff, co-founded, grew, and sold VHT Studios. Brad Baldoff, CEO and co-founder of By Your Side Autism Therapy Services. Matt Croak, the consummate entertainer, jack of all trades, and serves as our host. So I'm excited about this guest because a running gag we've been having every time we mention restaurant, we're like, oh my God, can you imagine running that type of business? And we actually have.
I want to own a restaurant,
but it's hard. We've all said
it's got to be impossible.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. And to have the insight today that we're going to have, super excited for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about. I mean, it's been amazing, and I just wanted to say we're really excited to have our guest on tonight. So first of all, Frank DeGrassi, who longtime friend. I've known Frank actually in a different world. Frank actually did IT work long ago. So this is going to be an interesting discussion where he was in the IT world, knew everything IT. He was our go-to for some, pretty simple and more complex IT related matters. And then years went by. I didn't stay in contact with Frank, and then we reconnected only to find that not only did he open one restaurant, but Frank, I didn't know you opened a second restaurant. I don't know if it's still there or not.
Yes, it is. Yes,
it's still there.
Yeah,
so I just wanted to say, though, I wanted to give you a proper plug here. So his restaurant, Mama Onesta's Italian restaurant, opened in Lockport, Illinois in March of 2008. He's been around for a while. Mama Onesta's translates to honest mother in Italian. The restaurant was named after Frank's mother, a hardworking and honest woman, Erminia DeGrassi. A second Mama Onesta's location was established in Canton, Georgia in 2017. Obviously, Mama Onesta's offers a quality dining experience for various occasions. And so what we want to do is we want to pull on Frank DeGrassi, who is the owner and proprietor of Frank Mama Onesta's. All right.
Hi,
Frank.
guys. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, quick poll before we start. 1 to 10, and we'll do it at the end of you wanting to start a restaurant. 1 to 10. And then we'll take it at the end.
10 being really interested, 1 not.
Yes, right now.
Well, it comes and goes, but I'd say an 8. I'd love to. I mean, I think on the surface I would.
I like, for the interest in wanting to open a restaurant, 9.
Frank, we got a 9 and an 8, so it's your job.
So there's not much convincing there. It's just you I have to convince in the middle, right?
Amber, how about you? Would you like to open, or you work at a restaurant? Yeah. Would you like to open a restaurant? And you say, no, I don't want it.
After working in the industry for the past 5 years, I would say I would give it a 4.
Yeah. Oh, okay. She's
by the way, just to be clear,
see, we haven't worked in the industry, so we have no clue.
Yeah, just to be clear, it's not that I don't want to. I have so much respect for restaurant owners. I don't even think I could even come close to being successfit's
I do too. So what do we go at, guys? What do we want to tackle?
Well, how did you decide to get into the business, Frank? From IT to restaurant, it's quite a leap.
Well, actually, in 2005, the company we were working for, Brad and I, laid off a lot of people. So I got laid off, and long story short, I went into buying houses and fixing them up because real estate was really well. And I always wanted to do my own business. And I tried doing that. And anyway, I had a really bad accident. For about a year, I couldn't do any computer work. I couldn't do any construction work. So I was looking on the internet, trying to find out what business I wanted to go into. I didn't want to go back into work in corporate America because I was in there for 27 years. And I just didn't want to do that anymore. So I went on the internet. A friend of mine, he was a appraiser, so he had access to the MLS. So we went in there, we're looking at businesses that were for sale. And a restaurant him and I would go and eat was for sale. And it was a really nice place. And it was in an old historic downtown Lockport. And it was kind of run down the downtown area, but the building was really neat. So I decided to take a look at it. I went in there, talked to the lady that had it for sale.
Wait, Frank, Frank, I got to stop you there. Was it because you were hungry? Yes. So you were hungry, and that's why you wanted to open a restaurant.
I was actually looking. I didn't want to go to work at corporate America. And real estate had just crashed. It was 08.
Yeah, 08.
07. It was starting to dive, and I didn't want to buy any more houses. I was starting to feel better. I didn't want to go back into computers because I did that for 27 years. And I was just tired of it. And I enjoyed the last 2 or 3 years working for myself, fixing houses, not having to answer to anybody. Making my own decisions, making my own money, all the hard work I was putting into it, I was getting back, a lot more than I would working for somebody else.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed it. So I wanted to find some other business. And being Italian, I always dreamt about having a restaurant, Italian restaurant. And I seen this place, and it's a really old historic building. It was built in 1891, had the hardwood floors, everything. I mean, I just fell in love with it. And I kept thinking, this could be a great place for an Italian restaurant. And
well, Frank, what was it called at that point? Was it an Italian restaurant?
It was called the Old Stone Cafe. It was a breakfast and lunch. And they had opened for a couple of years. But they weren't doing very well. And that was one of the reasons they were selling it. And they had other businesses too. So their focus wasn't primarily on the restaurant. So I think that had a lot to do with it. And they just wanted out of it. And I think it's a stressful business. So it's a lot of hours.
Well, we want to, I mean, this is going to be serious, but we want to keep this one much lighter. So the first thing I'd say is Italian restaurant. You gained weight along the way now, a lot of weight from making a lot of pasta and bread, or no? What do you think?
I have not. I work out 5 days a week, so
right.
I try to stay in shape. But I'm sure if I didn't work out, I'd probably weigh about 300 pounds. So.
It should be noted that I do know this, even though Frank and I haven't talked a long time. You'd think that we talk every day. I haven't seen Frank how long? 15 years? 10
well,
years?
Yeah, I left. Actually, February was 20 years since I left American Tower, and that was working with you. So it's been 20 years since
I've seen Frank. So this is how we used to get along. And I will say about Frank is not only does he own not one restaurant, not two restaurants, but he's a drummer in a rock band. And so I appreciate this guy. I love my brother drummers. But so you didn't put on a lot of weight opening an Italian restaurant. But I mean, obviously it was in
the back of your mind. It sounds like you didn't just go in. We see a lot of people who like, I want to buy a business. Should I buy a dry cleaner? Should I buy a sandwich shop? Should I buy a car wash? You said you had it in the back of your mind, like restaurant.
Yeah. I grew up in on 22nd and Oakley, which is like Little Italy. You had Taylor Street and you had Oakley Street, and they had a lot of Italian restaurants. So we were friends with a lot of restaurant owners, Marconi's, Fibo's, La Bacchanala, La Torteria. So Bruno's restaurant in Oakley. So we knew them, and I really loved going there as a kid. And my mom was a great cook. I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Nona on Netflix. The guy
I've seen the previews.
Restaurant. Yeah, and I think Netflix stole my story. I grew up, cooking with my mom. My mom's always making dinners on Sunday, and I enjoyed that family time together. And I wanted to recreate that in Lockport, like we had on Oakley Street. So we have like the old mural Italian, scene on the wall. We have the hardwood floors, just like the restaurants in Oakley Street. A lot of similar dishes as they did. I took a lot of my mom's recipes, and then my sister had a restaurant too in Florida, so she helped me out. She had a lot of recipes and kind of guided me through opening the restaurant.
So I'm curious, when you were deciding, What did you think you could bring to it? Was it like the front end? You know,
Well,
I can deal with
Italian food, which is kind of common. So what separated? Yeah. What?
Well,
could
no,
you bring to
I
it?
meant like you personally. Did you think I could market the hell out of this, or I could be great in the front of the house with customers, or I could run the kitchen, or I could just run the business? Like, where did you see yourself in the
I
business?
saw myself as just running the business. I can cook, but I can cook for myself. And I know from working in corporate America, one of the guys I worked for 20 years, he said the key to being successful is having successful people underneath you. And so the first thing I did was got a really good chef. I hired some really talented bartenders, servers. And I managed, with American Tower, I managed the IT department there. When I was with World's Finest Chocolate for 20 years, their subsidiary,
There's a good sponsor.
I managed there. So I knew how to deal with people. I knew accounting because I worked in computers. So I always set up accounting system, worked directly with accounting. So I knew I knew the numbers, I knew expenses, I knew the financials. So that was a big plus. And marketing, I was pretty good at too, with advertising. And I knew a lot of people in the neighborhood because I was involved with baseball for 15 years. I was on the football boosters. I was, involved with the church there. So I thought, the community would
Had a
support
built-in
us.
community, right?
So
Yeah, and they did.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
I mean,
the Lockport area was great.
I mean,
So,
2008, 2008,
Yes.
you open it. I mean, 17 years
was
in business, man. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and it was a recession back then.
You ran, and you ran through
Much.
COVID. And you ran through COVID. I mean, did you shut down during
that
COVID?
was
What
another
was
one.
that all like? Was that a tough time for you? And or did you just plow right through it and say, we're staying open no matter what the state says about essential services?
We're in Lockport.
Italian
COVID
food
doesn't-
is essential.
Well, Georgia restaurant, they didn't care. They stayed open. The governor there was pretty good. Here, we closed for first few months, but they, we were helped by the government, the local municipalities, and then we were closed March, April, May. I think June we opened up. We just did carry out. We couldn't have anybody in the dining room.
Yeah.
But then we had people outside, and fortunately, it was the weather was perfect outside from June to whenever
Yeah.
we were open outside. So we kind of survived, and then the PPP program helped us out tremendously.
Sure.
The government was helping pay for the payroll protection.
Yep.
And we were in business for a while when COVID hit, so we had all the records and financials, so we were able to get money, through the PPP to help us with the employees and all that.
Did you guys pick up like Uber Eats and Grubhub during COVID, or did you already have that? Or
Oh God, the community, Lockport and surrounding areas, we would do like $200 or $300 in sales and carryouts a night, and the dining room obviously, whatever, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 a night, and then after we came back from COVID, people were ordering carryout like crazy.
Wow.
We're doing 2,000 or 3,000 a night in carryout, which
Nice.
was, and people were so supportive of, especially restaurants, especially in our area. I'm sure it was probably all over, especially for my mom and pop place like ours. They were really. They were calling. I couldn't believe how many carryouts we were doing.
So I've underestimated when we talk about restaurants. I always think about the logistics and the margins. Frank, you talk about not only seeing the place and saying this would be a great ambiance, but you keep talking about community. And then you keep talking about, I wanted to start this because I grew up. It's family to me. So I guess how important is that passion for community in running a restaurant business, which I didn't even think of?
I think it's real, having a network, having people that and they're really supportive. Like I said, I was involved in so many volunteer organizations in the community because of my kids, and I did it just to help everybody out and help the church out or whatever. And I never thought it would come back to me like it did. And once I opened the restaurant, people that I knew from the church, people I knew from, when I was on the high school, board, from baseball coaching for 15, 20 years. I mean, all the kids even the kids and their parents that I coached would come to their restaurant. So it was neat. It was really supportive, and I appreciated all that.
Well,
I know we wouldn't have made. I would know we wouldn't have made it without them.
Well,
and then after that, it just kind of.
I was going to say, what goes around comes around, I mean, obviously, you gave so much to the community in so many different ways. Everybody wanted to support it. I would have to imagine that the food is pretty damn good, too. And we're actually, by the way, before we get too far along, this is a remote studio, and we will pick this studio up and bring it to a live remote location.
Yes.
Mama Onesta's, everybody?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I should have had some food delivered.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We would have appreciated that.
While you're drinking.
Speaking of the food, you mentioned hiring a chef right away. What's the balance of, does the food drive the business, or do people drive, or does food drive the menu, or do people drive the menu? What's that balance of telling people this is good food and people saying, no, this is what we want? The menu we created ourselves, they're my mom's recipes, my sister's from her restaurants. And then some of the chefs over the years, I keep an open mind. They've tweaked recipes and they improved them, phenomenally. And I think, just keeping that open mind and hiring great chefs, and we always, we're always open to, trying new things. And we've expanded the menu quite a bit since we opened. The chef, our first chef, Jay, he was phenomenal, a friend of mine through the family. Started working for us, and he had these colossal shrimp that he'd run on special, and they were amazing, and they were so good. We ended up putting it on the menu. My daughter, Ashley, created this dish, tortellini Ashley, and with pesto sauce and Alfredo. That's awesome.
Alfredo sauce, and it was a hit, and we put that on the menu. My stepson, Marty, created tortellini Marty, and with sausage, spinach, and vodka sauce, and then that was a big hit, so we put that on the menu. So, and people, the food is, our chefs are really good, and they do a great job, and they're consistent. Once we get our marinara, marinara, the proper way.
Shouldn't we say gravy? Is it gravy or sauce? What is it?
Well, no, I didn't know it was gravy until I came to work with Schaumburg with Brad. Was it Sonny and you? And somebody else always called it gravy.
Well, because we thought we were Italian, but I guess that's not it. Wait, I guess we have to ask our Italian viewing audience.
We call it sauce, or we call it marinara. Actually, I say marinara if you watch our video on our website.
So are you saying that we're just we're completely off? We shouldn't be calling it gravy?
Wait, who's we? Are you saying gravy?
I don't.
Who's we on this?
I never heard gravy.
Gravy to me is what I put on my beef sandwich.
If you're in Schaumburg, you're right. If you're in Lockport, it's sauce or marinara sauce.
Hey, listen.
What about Georgia?
I'm a Polish and German guy. I don't know about Italian food. I just know I like it. You tell me what to call it. I'll eat it.
Gravy I put on my mashed potatoes.
Okay.
That's right. Italian beef. Yeah, light it easy on the gravy. That's what I say.
I got to call my Italian buddies and see if they call it gravy or sauce. Okay, that's good. So, Frank, take us back to your, there's a few questions I want to bring up because we're talking about someone that wants to start a restaurant, right? So, out of the gate, did you feel like the customers flocked in right away? Did you have to work diligently marketing? Did you have to do things like that you were maybe out of your norm, take you out of your comfort zone to get customers to come in? Or was it a big splash type of event and everybody wanted to?
Well, a lot of people in the community helped me a lot. I watched the movie Nona on Netflix, and he opened up a restaurant in another town he didn't even know anyone at. So I think it was a little bit more difficult for him. For me, I had a lot of people, from the baseball, the church, the high school that came and supported me. We advertised on paper, and then a couple things that really set us off. One was Johnny Depp filmed the movie outside a restaurant.
That helps a little bit. Johnny Depp outside your restaurant.
So it was shortly after we opened, so that we got a lot of publicity on the paper that he was filming outside of Mama Onesta's. And so that helped out a lot.
That's not a bad piece of luck.
No,
my goodness.
And it was Public Enemies, by the way. And then
sure.
And then about a year later, Chicago's Best, a lady that I was on the football boosters with, actually promoted us to Chicago's Best, and they accepted us. They came and filmed, and it's on our website. And we were on WGN, and the episode was it was funny. If you watch it, it's pretty funny. And we got a lot of publicity. After that show, we had a line out the door down to literally about a half a block long with people trying to get in.
Really?
So
Nice.
that really set us off. And
Was
after that, I think,
Frank, was that stuff though that you did, or was that stuff that happened out of luck? Or, I mean, like if I'm an aspiring
movie-
entrepreneur or restaurateur, these
Right.
are things that you're saying. Well, you obviously have to promote. You have to get a groundswell around your restaurant opening. I mean, you can't just think that people are going to show up. So did you go out and about like to try to create that groundswell? Did you go to WGN? Did you go to Chicago's Best? Like, did you talk to those people through your contacts, or it just happened naturally?
No. The only thing I did was before I opened, I'd let everybody at the church know I was opening the restaurant. For my friends from baseball, I had Facebook, so I let everybody on Facebook, my friends on Facebook know all, my coaches that I coach with, and all of my parents. I sent out emails to everybody letting them know we're opening a restaurant, and then I advertised in a couple of the local papers that we're opening, and then some of the local papers too. When you advertise, they'll do a little story on you too if you're new, and which helps a lot. But the Johnny Depp movie was just out of fluke. They were filming at the prison down the street from us in Joliet, right down Archer Avenue. It's about a mile from the restaurant, and they loved the downtown area. They wanted to use our building. It's a beautiful building. I don't know if you can.
Well,
hold up.
we will put a picture up of that.
Put a picture up
Yeah.
So then why Georgia? So you got all these local people, all these local friends. Why go out of state?
When I first opened, I had a gentleman, Mario, that came in. He was actually from the Schaumburg area.
Does he call it
I don't know
gravy?
if he called it gravy. I have to ask him if he calls it. I know he calls it sauce. But he was working for me, and he's 100% Italian, and him and I became best friends. And he's super nice guy, down to earth, and we were friends for a long time. But anyway, long story short, he went down to Georgia to take care of his mother. And one weekend I went to visit him, and he's tried opening a hot dog place down in Georgia, and he wasn't doing very well. He's making 30 cents a day or something, he said. So I go to him, I said, why don't you open an Italian restaurant? He goes, I don't know anything about Italian restaurants. And I said, I do. And he goes, you'd help me? And I said, God, at that time, we're friends for, God, I don't know, 12 years, 15 years or something. We're like brothers by then. And I said, yeah, I'd help you. So long story short, we went out the next day, and he goes, where do we go look? And I said, we went to this Woodstock area, and it was already developed. They had 2 Italian restaurants. And I said, do you have any areas around here like Lockport was? When I opened, it was, kind of run down.
Yeah.
And everybody's talking. It could be a great area. He goes, actually, you do. He goes, there's a place, Canton, that everybody's talking about that's an up-and-coming old downtown area. We went there, and it was identical to Lockport.
Wow, great insight.
They have the old city hall like we have. They had literally from the restaurant we found, there's an old movie theater when you walk outside Canton's restaurant, and we have one, the Roxy, directly across the street. Their high school is old like ours.
Johnny Depp was filming a movie there next month. They found out.
So we found a place that was for sale. It was actually an Italian restaurant that was there. They just wanted to get out of it in the worst way, Mancini's, and they sold it to us, and the restaurant's still going now. It's 7 or 8 years.
Impressive.
Now?
That's incredible. So is that doing as well? Are they both Mama Onestas?
Yeah, it's half the size, so it does a little bit over half the business.
Okay,
and they're killing it. They have great reviews. I think they have 4.7 on Google. We have like 4.6. We got 3,000 reviews. I think they have 1,000 or something. Wow. But they do, and they have the same menu. The only thing they don't have is there's a really small kitchen, so we don't have like steak We don't have that colossal shrimp and a few other items. We don't have like all the big salads. And it's, like I said, it's a lot smaller dining room.
So Frank, we talked about like the reviews. Like, one of the things we talked about was, we running well over here. We were talking about our reviews, and we were basically saying that, wait, do we have to?
No, go ahead. Okay.
Oh, we're
Keep talking.
Frank, we were talking about on the reviews, that we run into this. Do you have problems with the fact that, someone throws a review out, maybe they just had something bad that day, they decide they're going to go out, they're going to write a 1-star review. Is that something you ever experienced in all the years that you've been a restaurateur? Like, or was it always a positive review situation for you? Like, were you always, you know what I mean? Like, is that something where you are at any point in time in the business, were you concerned about the reviews or no?
Yeah. I mean, we take it personally. I mean, the majority of them, are great reviews. I would say, 90, 95%. Once in a while we get a 1-star, somebody's totally disappointed for some reason. And then we get a few, 3 stars, but the majority of them are 5. And, we really, I mean, the key things we focus on, obviously the food's the most important thing. I always strive on, the quality of food. I always buy the best product, the best veal, the best steaks you could possibly get. I mean, I'll pay, as much as I can per pound, to get the best. Even the Marsala, we use the, imported Marsala wine from Italy. So we try to, in food, and then obviously service, and then we try to keep the place spotless, clean. And that's been our and then we, try to decorate it kind of nostalgic to Italian. We have the tablecloths, we have the hardwood floors in both restaurants. You have the little lights on the tables. It kind of gives you a little bit of formal dining experience. People like that. And then, the service is really important. So
you think about that, 2 restaurants, both that didn't close, and he's talking about all the basics. Don't cut on quality, service, those little extra things.
Those are all the things I thought. I mean, we talked about before. I feel like I've seen so many restaurants go out of business because they didn't do the basic like legwork that you did when you opened it, talking to different communities, putting out flyers. Like they focus so much on the restaurant itself. They forget like, okay, people need to know we're here and that we're open. They need to come in and try it.
Yeah. And the other thing too, I didn't know anything about restaurants. So to educate myself, obviously I had my sister, which was a big benefit, but I went to like Mr. Benny's Steakhouse. He's been in business for 60 years, and he was open to talking with me and telling me about his history, about what he did in 60 years. And we became really good friends. I even went to Applebee's, and I sit there with the manager. I actually had him, I said, I'll buy you a drink. And I sat with him, and he actually was open and talked to me for an hour. I went to Gibson's to talk to John in Oak and, spoke with him and, just picked their brains. Wow. And these guys, John and Mr. Benny, John's been in business for 45 years. He owned a steak place in downtown Chicago. And then he became part of Gibson's group. And these guys are smart guys. And I just, I absorbed everything I possibly could from them. I think that's important too, if you're opening a business, to kind of talk to people and find out, what they did to become successful. And every single person, even at Chili's, I walked in there, the manager was happy to, I said, yeah, I'm opening a restaurant, and they said, oh yeah, let me tell you a few things, And,
I think but Frank, I think that's like, I mean, what a great thought. I mean, he's humbled himself to say like, listen, you know what? I want to own a restaurant. I'm going to open this. I have great product, but like, I'd be foolish to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to go talk to 5, 6, 7 people that have been successful. And he's naming company after company after company. It's like, you're going to figure out what's working, what's not working. Hey, Frank, don't do this. Frank, do this. Guess what? And if you're a good listener and you're digesting it, I mean, what a great example of just going out and listening. This is what works. I'm going to take that blueprint and do it myself.
Do you
ahead,
remember
please.
like the most recent, you were somewhere else and said, wow, that's a great idea. We're going to do that.
Yeah. Actually, I was on vacation, and we had like little lamps on our tables with they're like a little plastic tube. You light the top of the. Yeah, but I was in a restaurant and they had these beautiful LED lights. They're actually made in Italy, and they're brand new. And I looked at the bottom. I'm sitting in the restaurant on a vacation. I looked at the bottom. There's a tag on the bottom where it's Zelano or something, USA. They're imported from Italy. But I called up the company. I took a picture of the bottom of it, and we got them in our restaurants now. So you pick up little things, when you're in places, even at like a Mr. Benny's Steakhouse, the way he does things there and fills waters and the tablecloths and the way they have stuff set up. You just pick up little things from, great restaurants like that.
How about, you mentioned Nona. Do you watch that series, The Bear, about that restaurant in Chicago, the beef place? Have you seen that?
Oh, Bear?
The Bear,
Bear, yeah, that was good. Yeah, that's.
I watched it. I'm like, okay, is that really what it's like in a restaurant?
Intense. It can get pretty intense in the kitchen. I try to stay out of there. I don't know how chefs.
You're not a back of the house guy, huh? You're not a back of the house guy.
No, I did all the ordering for a long time with all the food and everything, but I. Once in a while we'd, miss a dishwasher or something. I'd go back there and help wash dishes or, plate food, but I've never gotten in the line and cooked in 18 years. So
I was actually something I was going to ask. Do you feel like that's something from a redundancy standpoint, you have to have that plan in place? Like what if your cook, gets sick for a week?
Yeah. I've always had 2 or 3. Now I got like 3 or 4 people that can cook, and they follow the recipes,
sure.
Right on spot on, and they and all of them are great, and they kind of all work together. And some, because a lot of times we'll have somebody that just walks out or gives you 2 weeks notice, but you always have that. You have to have that backup in the kitchen. So
that's actually one of the biggest complaints I've heard from restaurateurs since COVID is just getting people. It's a constant battle.
It's hard. Yeah, it's
just because people have a perception of how hard it is. Like, I can't do that.
I used to have a stack of resumes for applications when I first opened. I mean, literally people coming off the street, filling out applications. Now I post on Indeed and Craigslist and all these. I'll get a couple, resumes on there, and I'll call, and half of them don't even respond. And then when you do get somebody to respond, they come for the interview, or they don't even show up for the interview, and they don't even call you. So I never ever had that.
Wow. Or they come for COVID, for the free tortellini, and then they take off. They said, "All right."
So yeah, it's been hard, but I look at it too. There are so many compared to 18 years ago. I mean, I was the only one in downtown Lockport. Now we have 8, 9 restaurants. And I lived in New Lenox. And when I would drive home 18 years ago to Lenox, there was 2 or 3 restaurants. Now there's 40.
Wow.
Subway and all these fast, Culver's and McDonald's. And I mean, and I said, that's where all the people are.
but Frank, come on. That's not a substitute for Mama Onesta.
Come
on, right?
Yeah,
Frank, what's
I'm working for Frank?
Yeah, exactly, Frankie.
If someone's starting a restaurant, what's one thing that you would tell them not to skimp on, not to cut corners on? What's one area that you think don't cut corners?
Well, definitely. Like, I mean, I get the top. We have veal on our menu. Mm-hmm. You can buy veal at $8-9 a pound. I pay $16. I always get the best. Even with our produce, I try to make sure we get the best produce. The chicken, I know I even found out through some smaller restaurants, they use they skimp on stuff. Even like our snapper, we try to get everything from the Gulf, everything domestic with our seafood. because it's so much better, on the East Coast or from the Gulf than it is from, imported from overseas. You're paying more a pound, but people, even if you charge them, a buck or two more for something, they love it if it's good, and they don't, complain. And a lot of people come in our place, oh, this is the best veal I've ever had, and I'm like, okay, that's what $16 a pound for,
But don't skimp on quality. It's not worth it, right? You pay a little extra,
especially and people. I mean, you're going out to eat, you're $10. I'd rather pay 12 and get something right. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
So I got a question. Go ahead, we talked about it. Matt brought it up before. I had a concept. So there's fast Chinese, there's fast Mexican. Here we go. Why can't I get good fast Italian? Because I have Eddie Spaghetti.
He's got the name.
That's his name, Frank.
I've got
Eddie
the name.
Spaghetti.
That's all I have. I know nothing else other than I spent 20 years in sales, so I eat a lot of meals in my car, breakfast, lunch, dinner. And at some point you get tired of tacos and hot dogs. And it's like, can't I just get a baked mastacholi somewhere?
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Is that actually not possible or what?
Was that? She's saying Portillo's would be considered Barnelli's.
How many of them have Barnelli's?
Portillo's has the Italian version, but listen, we're not saying as a substitute for Mama Onesta.
No. I'm talking just
but what do we think?
I actually thought of that once. I thought about going in a Shark Tank and starting a fast food Italian where you get the chicken piccata or Parmesan or baked mustacholi or some tortellini.
I'm in, Frank. Let's do it.
Frank, Brian's in. Brian's retired now. He sold his business.
So I convinced him. I convinced Brad.
You got an Italian guy. You got an Italian restaurant.
We're past 8 and 9 for Brad and Brian. They're past 10
You got a
now.
Retired guy here. You just got to call it Eddie Spaghetti. He'll do everything else you say.
Yeah, Frank, this isn't a podcast. We're not recording. This is a pitch session. Brian is looking for a friend and...
Well, I started thinking maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe you can't cook pasta fast enough, or things go bad. I don't know. It's like, why haven't it?
Is there a reason, Frank, why you guys can't do that?
No, actually, I thought about it quite a bit because I wanted to franchise out at one time and open up a bunch of places and have it fast, quick, and there's no reason why you couldn't.
All right, let's turn off the recording, and I'm going to
turn off the recording. We're going to start talking, negotiating.
Didn't your increase in Uber Eats almost prove out that theory? If you're doing 2,000 to 3,000 in takeout, I mean that's there's the demand now for right that quick fast.
Oh yeah, carry out. Yeah, and if you had convenience, we're kind of located in an area demographically. There's no houses west of us. But we be paying as destination.
What is it? An ocean? If you're
going to open some fast food, you want to be in an ideal location, like off the expressway or something, near a mall or something. But I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
There you go. I got $10. Yeah.
We laughed at him. So Frank, this came up in podcast 2. We're on podcast 20. Brian brought up Eddie Spaghetti.
Throws it out there.
We just busted out laughing.
I like the name.
I always wanted to do a fast food Italian, like a drive-through where you can get some mastacholi. And
just that. Is he pitching this to us?
This might be. Maybe at the end we got another business if you guys like it.
Mastacholi.
But as far as I got was the name. Noted. I was going to call it Eddie Spaghetti. So I had the name, but really nothing else. So that one's in my file folder.
You knew nothing about restaurants, although he's successful with restaurants. Right. You're starting.
I mean, so you said you want to be friends. You kind of threw it out there, and I think it's actually a very important thing to talk about. You went into business in Georgia with your best friend. Risky? Right. Any qualms about getting into business or rooting that friendship? Or how did that go with going into business with your best friend? For those out there listening.
It was good. Plus I was helping him. He was kind of down on his luck and but it was fun, and it was new, like a challenge for me. Plus, it was a good feeling to be helping him out, and he's doing really well now. And there was some challenges at first, trying to get it open, and It's not always real easy being partnerships, and everybody has their own way. So, but we worked well together, and we still now. We talk every day.
Wow.
He calls me almost every morning. Actually, he didn't call me today. I just thought of that. hope he's okay.
Maybe he's really busy. Maybe they're just killing it.
So Frank, as as we're all getting older in our lives, do you look at it and say, I want to open a second, a third, a fourth, a 10th Mama Onesta's, or do you go, no, I'm loving life. I got a great restaurant. I'm enjoying doing other things. Like, how do you see your future with the business, with the restaurants?
Well, right now I'm kind of handing it off. My stepson's kind of running it. I'll be 63 this year.
Okay.
And
but you're still playing drums, man. Still playing drums in a rock band.
Playing drums. So I do that part time, and then I have a little real estate business that I run.
Nice.
So on besides the restaurants, all the buildings that the restaurants are in, I ended up buying, and then some of them have apartments, so I rent those out and run all that under another umbrella.
Awesome.
That's a real estate company. I have some houses that I rent out.
Beautiful.
So I use some of the money from the restaurant, and I kind of invested in the property. And
when did you decide to do that?
Setting myself up to just retire soon.
That boy.
When did you decide to start taking that money and putting it into buildings? When did you decide to start expanding?
12, 13 years ago. I mean, I bought buildings before I opened the restaurant. I bought them, but I sold them. This time around, with the money, I bought them and I fixed them up, and I just I've been renting them out. And
would you say that was the restaurant a means to the end then? Meaning you ultimately want to be in real estate. I mean, not that you didn't want to be in Italian
real estate's
restaurants.
good place to. I mean, a lot of people throw their money in a CD or they throw it in stocks. For not being an entrepreneur, it's not like we're working for American Tower or World's Finest Chocolate, where you're getting pensions or you're getting 401ks from the company. So you have to think out of how am I gonna retire?
Right.
So my idea was to put it. I love real estate, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs have made a lot of money on real estate. So I'll buy property. I even have a place in Siesta Key in Florida,
Nice.
condo that I bought, and I listed on Airbnb, and I rent it out almost every week.
Fantastic.
For renters, and it pays for itself, and you make a little bit of money, and then when I retire, got a place to stay, and I have income coming in from the Airbnb account. So
that's beautiful.
Should we try a quick lightning round with?
Yeah, let's try a lightning round. Do you have a couple questions you can fire at him? So Frank, we'd like to do with our interviews like this. We want to do a quick lightning round, some quick questions for you, just bang type question and answer. So. Want to start?
Okay.
One
is just, your favorite restaurant or chain or, company you admire.
My favorite, and I have to go with Gibson's and Mr. Benny's because they're my, I learned so much from them too. Plus their restaurants are great. The steaks, they're top notch. I mean, you can eat off their floors in the kitchen. They keep their place is so clean. And the service is impeccable, and their steaks are remarkable. So Mr. Benny's and Gibson's, I can't really tell you which one's better because I like both families.
Hey Frank, where's Mr. Benny's at? Is that down by you, by Lockport?
It's in Mokina.
Okay,
on 191st, right off LaGrange.
Because Studio G, where we're up in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, so that's a little bit of a cruise for us to get down to Mokina.
You can go to Gibson's though.
You can, absolutely.
Yeah,
Matt, you have a speed question for him you want to ask? You have anything you want to ask him?
I guess I would go, well, instead of best piece of advice, what's the worst piece of advice? And I only say that for entrepreneurs who are listening so they can help filter it. What was a piece of advice you went, that is not that good of advice?
Worst advice, like dealing with a business or
whatever you want it to be. Yeah, in general, talking to the owners.
The hardest is dealing with the employees, with time off and all that. That's probably
juggling schedules.
That's
Have you noticed the change?
With the restaurant business? And the thing with the restaurant, we're open at night. Our place, So it's hard. A lot of people need off, and the kids, they have working for you. It's just, it's difficult.
Yeah.
So that's why now I have a manager in place, and that's his job.
Outsourced.
So after like 16 years of dealing with that, I kind of leave it to him now. So
hey, really quick, back in the restaurant, not a speed question, but did you find yourself? Are you out and about with the patrons? Are you talking to them? Like, how's the food?
Oh, God,
how's the
yeah.
experience? Like, because I watch Bar Rescue every once in a while with Mr. John Taffer, right? And he's always like, if you're not out talking, awesome. To your patrons in a restaurant, that's important, right? Yeah. Like, how's it going? Do you find yourself doing a lot of that?
A lot. And so many people come in just, looking for me or asking for me, or, my kids are, and I've created so many great relationships. Even some of my best friends, guy friends now, are friends that I've, met in the restaurant. My friend Ed, my friend Mike. I got a whole list of guys, and we go golfing together. We're best friends, and they started out as customers.
That's awesome.
So what do diners want? You're out there, you're talking to them. What at the end of the day does a diner want when they go out to eat?
A lot of them, obviously, if you don't have good food, they're not going to come back.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it's important. And then the setting, ours is nostalgic, restaurant. Like I said, it's really cool. The old building with the limestone on the outside and the hardwood floors. I think that has a lot to do with it. Plus, we try to keep the place as clean as possible, and people will notice those kind of things. And then service. And then, like we were just saying, the owner coming around talking to the tables. You don't get that in too many restaurants. You don't get that going to Applebee's or, Chili's or something.
Right.
But, somebody that comes around and talks to you for a while.
It's funny. One of our questions we usually ask in the speed round is pet peeve, but it made me think of mine when you said the food's got to be good. It drives me crazy when I go to a restaurant. You read the description of the dinner, and it sounds great, and then they deliver it, and it's got onions in it or mushrooms, and it didn't say that on the menu. It's like, I'm never going back because I don't trust any of it.
Okay, can we put onions and mushrooms in the hate corner for Brian? I didn't know about that. So onions and mushrooms move into the hate
Don't
corner.
ever try to sneak them into my
Hey, Frank, another quick question. If someone wants to get in the service industry, wants to be in the service industry, quick piece of advice. Is there anything that they're just getting started, should they pursue a certain job out of college, before college? Should they go into restaurants or hotels? Like
we've said this, I think everybody should work in a restaurant for.
We said that. Do you feel like you should? If you want to be in the service?
I think if they're going to school, even if they're taking hospitality in college, they didn't offer that when I went to college. They do now, or some type of culinary classes. But you should definitely work in the restaurant to see if it's even something you want to do, even if it's for a few months or a year. But I think everybody, somebody said, you should work in a restaurant for a year. I think you appreciate it more when you walked into a restaurant, when you're waiting, half an hour for your food and the place is packed. A lot of people get so frustrated and aggravated. And, I think if you work in the restaurant, you walk in there, you really appreciate that server running around. You really appreciate that busboy and those guys in the kitchen. They're back there busting their butt off.
Amber doing a little server. Amber does a little server work.
They're not purposely, taking their time. So you can
must be just doing nothing back there.
You can wait an hour for your food. So.
I'm sure you can appreciate that, Amber.
Even just building communication skills, I feel like that's a great first job to start off with.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Building your communication skills is a first job. So before we close out, Frank, we're both rock drummers. Best drummer of all time, living or past. Who would it be?
I would. Mine has to be Neil Peart.
There you go.
He's
Rush.
He's an alien.
Yeah.
He's not from this planet.
Yeah.
Is that what your set looks like? Do you have all
after that? It's Bonham.
Well,
Ringo Starr and Keith Moon.
There you go, brother.
So if I underestimated Ringo Starr, I just thought he was one of the.
Everybody underestimates Ringo Starr. Ringo Starr is his own style, and everybody has picked up something from Ringo Starr. It is so simple but so different that people think Ringo Starr is.
Plus, he was a left-handed drummer, and he had to play right-handed. So his techniques and his beats and everything were a little bit different because he was playing with opposite hands.
That's interesting.
Is he getting more and more appreciated? Because I hear him on more and more lists that I didn't hear growing up.
I love that. I love that he went down the same list of mine, which is you start off with Neil Peart, John Bonham's got to be up there, Ringo Starr's up there, and of course my boy Keith Moon. Little rock and roll out of the Who, you know. So
we're always afraid Brad's got explosives.
I'm gonna blow up my drums, man. I want to blow up my kit. You know.
I got. Sometimes I get pretty wild doing the Who songs, trying to imitate Keith Moon. So.
There you go. Well, hey Frank, listen, we appreciate you taking the time out because this is something over the past like 10 episodes we've talked about. Like, I'd love to open a restaurant. I got to tell you what. After I heard you talk through this session, I want to open a restaurant. So you're this guy really excited.
You're above 9.
He got me excited about a restaurant.
You were at 8.
But here's the deal, though. I'm not opening a restaurant. Well, I'm not opening a restaurant on my own. I'm opening it with Frank DeGrassi. Is what I'm doing.
And if I can do it, anybody can do it. So
there you go. Well, Frank, we appreciate you taking the time, and it was great catching up, brother.
Guys, come in. Let me know. I'll sit with you and eat and.
Yeah,
definitely take care of you guys.
We'll talk about the days of yore. Good to see you, Frank.
Okay.
Take care, buddy.
Take care.
Frank.
Thank you.
All right, see you. Bye-bye. Bye.